All right, we're going to do some more of what we did the day before on finding angles. So I'm going to ask again for you to find these four things on each problem. State the reference angle, state the quadrant, state the angle in degrees, state the angle in radians. And the key to most of these problems is this right here. Knowing what quadrant is in, then you will be able to find the angle. If it's in quadrant 1, you don't do anything with the reference angle. The reference angle is 30, that's one of the answers. But if the reference angle is 30 and the angle's in quadrant 2, to find that angle, you do 180 minus the reference angle or pi minus the reference angle, because 180 and pi are the same thing. In quadrant 3, it's 180 plus the reference angle, because any angle in quadrant 3 is bigger than 180 degrees. Or pi plus the reference angle. And in quadrant 4, it's 360 minus the reference, because right here is 360 degrees. So anything in quadrant 4 is going to be smaller than 360. That's why we subtract. So 360 minus the reference, or 2 pi, which is the exact same thing as 360, minus the reference angle. So knowing the reference angle and the quadrant will tell us a lot. Well, if you look at your little table that I gave you with a sine, cosine, and tangent, or those ordered pairs I gave you on the notes the other day, you will see that sine is square root 2 over 2 at 45 degrees. Right? That's important. If you know things like that, that'll answer most of these questions. Right? So the reference angle then is 45 degrees. So number 1, reference equals 45. Also really help if you know 45 is pi over 4. And my two answers, and there are two answers because the sign is negative 2 places, quadrants 3 and 4. There are two answers, and both of the answers in radian measure will have a 4 on the bottom. That's important to know. All right, so again, like I said, the sign is negative in two quadrants, quadrant 3 and quadrant 4. Right, that's the quadrant, and I know the reference angle. So now I need to find the angle in quadrant 3 that has a reference angle of 45. So we go back to this little chart. In quadrant 3, it's 180 plus the reference. So 180 plus 45 equals 225 degrees. That's the angle in quadrant 3. Quadrant 4, it says take 360 minus the reference. So in quadrant 4, that would be 360 minus 45, which is 315 degrees. So step 3, state the angle in degrees or angles in degrees. Those are the two. And then state them in radians. Now remember what I said. 45-degree reference are going to have a 4 on the bottom. So in here, it says pi plus reference. But I'm going to write that as 4 pi over 4, because that's still pi, plus the reference angle. That would give me 5 pi over 4. 225 is 5 pi over 4. In quadrant 4, 2 pi minus the reference angle. Well, I'm going to take that 4 and double it, put it on the top. That'll give me my 2 pi minus my reference angle. Gives me 7 pi over 4. 315 and 7 pi over 4 exactly the same. It's just the radian measure of 315 degrees. All right, next one. I know that cosine is positive. Remember one other thing I've been telling you over and over and over again. All seniors turn crazy. So the cosine is positive in 4 and 1, because all of them are positive in 1. But what is the reference angle? My reference angle, when is my x value squared 3 over 2? That is at 30 degrees. 30 degrees is the same thing as pi over 6. So I know in my two answers, I will have a 6 on the bottom in my radian measure. All right, so my reference angle is 30 degrees. When is the cosine positive? 1 and 4. So quadrants 1 and 4. Again, the good thing about quadrant 1 is that's going to be one of my answers, 30 degrees. I don't do anything with it. But in quadrant 4, 360 minus reference. So the second one would be 360 minus 30, which is 330 degrees. In radians, like I said, they're going to have a 6 on the bottom. The first one is just pi over 6. That's done. Don't have to do anything if it's in quadrant 1. Quadrant 4, 2 pi minus the reference. I'm going to take the bottom, double it. That'll give me the 2 pi minus the reference. Will give me 11 pi over 6. Okay, remember what I said. Reference pi over 6. Both of these answers will have a 6 on the bottom. All right, when is the tangent positive? Well, let's first find the reference angle. And if you look at your chart from yesterday, tangent is square root 3 when the angle is 60 degrees, which is pi over 3. Okay, both of my answers on part 4 are going to have a 3 on the bottom. 2. What quadrant or quadrants is the tangent positive? Well, right here, T, quadrant 3, and all of them are positive in 1, so quadrants 1 and 3. So what degree measure in quadrant 3 would give me tangent equal to square root 3? Well, 180 plus the reference. So 180 plus 60 is 240 degrees. And then quadrant 4, 360 minus reference. And that would be 300 degrees. Which means if you took the tangent of 240 and the tangent of 300, oops, I did that wrong. Sorry, it's not in quadrant 4, it's in quadrant 1 where we don't do anything, so those are the two answers. Sorry, I checked that answer. Tangent's not positive in 4, it's positive in 1 and 3. So here's 3, here's 1. Part 4, what are the radian measures? Pi over 3 is one of them. It's in quadrant 1, I don't have to do anything. Just forget I even did that. And then in quadrant 3, pi plus reference. Well, my reference had a 3 on the bottom. I'm on 180, I'm just going to put that same number on top and bottom. If it's over here, I'm going to double the bottom. So 3 pi over 3, which is still pi, plus the reference of pi over 3 equals 4 pi over 3. So 2 answers in radians, 2 answers in degrees. Not always. We had one yesterday that had 3 answers. Cosine is -1. Well, that is not in a quadrant. Okay, because that is a quadrantal. When is the x value negative? The x value is negative right here. Or -1, sorry. Cosine is -1 right there. This ordered pair is 0, 1. Cosine is not -1. This ordered pair is 0, -1. Cosine is not -1. Here, the ordered pair is 1, 0. So there's only one place where the cosine is equal to -1. So it's not in a quadrant, and it doesn't have a reference angle because, well, the reference is the distance to the x-axis. It is the x-axis. So I'm just going to go straight to 3. That's 180 degrees, which is pi radian. So there's only 1 degree and 1 radian that would work for this problem. Now, tangent undefined. Where is the tangent undefined? Well, it's good that I made these ordered pairs because the tangent, remember, is sine divided by cosine. Something is undefined when you divide by 0. Sine divided by cosine. That's not dividing by 0. But this is 1 divided by 0. 0 divided by -1? No. These two are the only ones where you're dividing by 0. So tangent is undefined at both pi over 2, or 90 degrees, and this one, which is 270. And you could say the reference angle is 90 because they're 90 degrees away from the x-axis. And this one is pi over 2, and 270 is 3 pi over 2. If you don't know that, you can always multiply by pi over 180 to convert to radians. All right, but if you already know that, that's fine. This one, tan, is undefined when the cosine is 0 because it's sine over cosine. All right, hopefully that'll help you get through the work for today. This is also going to be on the quiz. We have a quiz on Friday, and I will do a review on Friday morning. Hopefully you will watch that before you take the quiz. Good luck. Have fun. Watch out for the bees.